when the political class has come to hold the nation to ransom, as it appears now, it is the judiciary that will have to stand up and save the nation from the jugular of the political class. There is definitely a cabal that does not want this election to hold. But let us remind them, those who called themselves the cabal under President Obasanjo became irrelevant after that. Those who consider themselves into a cabal under President Yar'Adua became irrelevant after that. Those who consider themselves into a cabal under President Jonathan became irrelevant after that. And these too shall pass. The nation is at a crossroad, and all stakeholders must stand up in defense of our democracy. With respect to the need for us as a National Assembly to go back to the drawing board and rework the Electoral Act itself as it is. But in the meantime, I believe we have a law that, if it is sincerely implemented by all stakeholders, all parties concerned, should lead us somewhere. But that is not to say that it is yet uhuru. Some of the provisions in the law, much as I know we meant well to the extent that we even ended up disenfranchising ourselves in an attempt to get things right. I'm not aware any member of the National Assembly was able to vote as a delegate in his own political party's primaries and all that. However, I believe that some of the provisions that the courts have been battling with, the law that we make is what the court says it is. The court interprets the laws. So if in the event we come to a conclusion that the interpretations we are getting from the court are not reflective of our legislative intent, then we have to go back to the drawing board. One of such areas is in the area of computation of time. I know it's been a serious matter in different ways. Up till Supreme Court held, for instance, that the 14-day period for a candidate who is complaining about the contents of Form EC9 submitted by another candidate or another aspirant who would have emerged as candidate will begin from the day that Form EC9 is submitted to INEC. In that provision, there are subsections. We also talked about the need for INEC to do publication within a certain number of days after Form EC9 would have been submitted. Courts are saying 14 days starts from the day that Form EC9 is submitted. That would not have been our intention. There is no way an aspirant or a candidate of another party will know when a candidate has submitted its Form EC9 to INEC, not to talk of the contents, because the candidate is not going to break into INEC record until INEC does its publication. That's the only time that other candidate will have access to the contents of Form EC9 submitted by any other candidate. But the courts are saying no. The computation of 14 days from the day that you submitted your Form EC9. So I just cited that as an example to show that we still have work to do, given the kind of judicial interpretation we are getting. I'm sure my colleagues, are in tune with this and will do the needful in that regard. But the other aspect of my comments, briefly, has to do with the question on the lip of many, many Nigerians today, which some of our presidential candidates here have also asked this morning. Will these elections hold on schedule? I believe that beyond the assurances of INEC, this is a question that will have to be answered in the affirmative by all the stakeholders who are involved. The major threat that I see to election holding today is not about whether or not INEC is ready. It's obvious INEC is ready for this election. The CBN more than any other stakeholder, is a threat to this election holding on schedule. If 3 weeks to election, we are still facing a situation where Nigerians are stripping in the banking hall, stripping naked in the banking hall because they cannot have access to the little money that they have. If we were told at the beginning of this policy implementation that the target were the so-called, money bags who had naira stashed, in their closets, and that was what those were the people that they wanted to get at. Today is the ordinary man on the street who is suffering from this, and we must understand the political economy of an electoral process. If people, and again, that's part of the problem with the law that we even made. We shied away because we didn't want people to think we were voting too much money, to be spent by political parties and candidates. We put some paltry sums of money that cannot even do the job, because all you need to do today is calculate the number of polling units that political parties will have to pay, just like INEC will have to pay their own agents. Calculate them all over the country and compare that to how much money we provided for in the law. We'll come back to that. However, if today CBN is assuring Nigerians, if INEC needs more money, or if INEC needs money, we will make sure INEC has money. So what happens if we are only relying on selective intervention of CBN for INEC to be able to perform? And if the police run into logistics problem, so they will have to go to CBN for selective intervention. We are fighting Boko Haram. If there are issues and they are not able to buy what they are supposed to buy to prosecute this war, they run to CBN to do selective intervention. These are issues, and as far as I am concerned as a stakeholder, the CBN is the most outstanding threat to these elections holding as scheduled. And two stakeholders stand out clear: the INEC to stand on its feet and do its best, and the judiciary.